It's now been 1 week since the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy is now at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a place that's been described as hell on earth. Fox 5's Lisa Evers is at MDC right now on Diddy's life behind bars. Lisa, what are you finding out tonight?
Well, Natasha and Steve, for the first time in his life, Sean Diddy Combs has spent a week behind bars. He's here inside MDC, where he's been since his arrest on Monday night on federal sex trafficking and other charges, to all of which he's pleaded not guilty. There's no VIP section. There is no concierge, only conmen, killers, and kingpins. MDC is so bad, federal judges have questioned the harsh conditions for those here awaiting trial. So bad, I was here 2 years ago during a cold spell, reporting on detainees with no heat, pounding on windows for help. There was even a congressional inquiry. But take the word of a former inmate I spoke with who goes by Esco.
It's terrible. The food is terrible. Of course, the inmates are terrible. The guards are terrible. The conditions are terrible. It's just terrible.
The inmates that you're surrounded around, just in general, a lot of them are brought up on pretty heavy federal indictments, right? So just in terms of the atmosphere there, it's just certainly one that no one wants to be in.
Combs was placed in a special housing unit and on suicide watch, the standard protocol for high-profile celebrity detainees. The disgraced mogul was denied bail by two separate judges. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, asked the court to transfer him to the federal detention section at the Essex County Jail, but the judge deferred to the Bureau of Prisons. Federal trial attorney Philip Hamilton says lockdown can mean a lot less time to prepare your defense.
In terms of fighting their case, it just makes it all the more difficult, because now in terms of you being able to communicate with your attorney, you are at the realms of just what's going on with respect to the facility. Is it on lockdown? Is the facility letting visitors in?
Detainees on suicide watch wear tear-away paper hospital-style garments and rubber shower shoes.
Suicide watch inmates, where the paper is torn away, rubber shower shoes, and hospital-style attire. Diddy Communications, a well-known figure in hip-hop, has lived a luxurious lifestyle as a music mogul, businessman, and cultural star. He has had access to the finest life P has to offer, including extravagant residences, private planes, and extravagant parties.
Going to have any contact with any other inmates. So for him, it's going to be a little different than for a person like me, where I will go through process and intake, and then they'll assign me a cell, and I'll have a bunkie or a cellmate, and I'll be in population.
For him to be able to get out at this point, it just doesn't look good.
Now, we reached out to Combs' attorney but did not get a response. We also reached out to the Bureau of Prisons. They confirmed to us that Combs is, in fact, detained here at MDC. For how long remains to be seen. We're live at MDC in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News.
However, everything has suddenly ended, and he is now facing severe accusations in a federal jail where he may spend the rest of his life. Behind bars, something he probably never imagined.
From his $48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
He is not the first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal criminal trials, called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I've had clients describe MDC as hell. as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark is a federal defense attorney who's been there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat.
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
I understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest.
The guy who created an empire with bad boy records and other business endeavors, Du Benavente, was arrested in mid-September after shocking the world at the age of 54. He is now facing severe allegations including smuggling, racketeering, and trafficking individuals for prostitution.
Other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prisons spokesman telling NBC News they, quote, take seriously addressing the staffing and other challenges at MDC Brooklyn, adding the director appointed an urgent action team and they've increased staffing.
MDC has historically had tremendous problems, and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs' lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey in the lead up to this trial, citing the prison's poor conditions, violence, and deaths. On Wednesday, his lawyer said he was being held in a special housing unit with an extra level of security.
Yasmin's back with us now. So what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion on $50 million bail, wanting a GPS monitoring system, limited visits from family members, friends, so on and so forth. That is what they're proposing because of course, the violence I talked about in that piece inside these jail walls. They also, in the meantime, Hal, want to get him moved to a jail and or prison in New Jersey. The judge so far has essentially said that is up to the Bureau of Prisons to make that decision. Nonetheless, it's all going to be on appeals leading up to the trial. His next court appearance, by the way, October 9th. So looking for that, of course, and any decisions coming out from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on this order.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Since his arrest, the accusations have seriously harmed his reputation and placed him at the center of one of the most startling court cases in modern entertainment history. D is being detained at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, without being granted bail.
Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing?
How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars. I feel validated, a win for women all over the world.
Combs has pled not guilty. Those were the only words he uttered.
Diddy has not changed his circumstances despite entering a not guilty plea to all of the allegations. Few people can really understand how his opulent existence has been replaced by the hard, lonely realities of jail.
Right now, related to music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Major new allegations today of sexual assault and exploitation by Combs. For the first time, we are hearing about victims who say they were minors when they were allegedly assaulted by the music star. The youngest, allegedly, just 9 years old. The allegations were revealed today by attorneys representing more than 100 alleged victims who are preparing to sue. So let's bring in NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas right now. So Chloe, we know there is currently a press conference underway. We do have live picture of that. Can you just walk us through these new allegations and tell us if we've heard from Combs yet?
So the individual that you see on the screen right now, that is an attorney based out of Houston, Texas, and his name is Tony Busby. He's been a part of some very well-known litigation over the years involving a BP oil spill, even involving the Astroworld Music Festival crisis where some individuals were killed during a stampede. So he has made headlines before, but this is pretty shocking. So he is claiming right now at this press conference that he has had over 3,000 individuals reach out to his law firm in Houston, Texas, that he and his team have been vetting these claims, that now they are representing over 120 accusers, and that over the next 30 days, they will begin to file different civil suits, that this is not a class action lawsuit, that they are going to continue to vet these allegations, but right now they feel strong about these. So he also said today that it's not just Combs that will be named as a defendant, that there will be other high-profile individuals, some household names. He says, quote, many powerful people, there are many dirty secrets. He says that his team has collected pictures, video, and that the allegations include violent sexual assault or rape, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, dissemination of video recordings, and sexual abuse of minors. So this was something else that they talked about, that there are 25 accusers who were allegedly minors at the time that these allegations took place starting in 1991, span all the way up over 2 decades. He also talks about where these individuals are from. He said that they hail from more than 25 states, New York, California, Florida. We know that Diddy had a residence in Miami, Georgia. We've reached out to Sean Combs' legal team for comment. They have not yet responded. Combs is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn while he is awaiting trial on the New York indictment, where he is charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges. Now, I also just want to point out that they also claim that 62% of these individuals are identifying as an African American, and that they are evenly split between female accusers and male accusers, and Clay. So this is very interesting. And he said that look, I know that everybody expected me today or wanted me to name other high profile individuals. He says, I'm not going to do that today, but it will come at some point. He says that these names will shock you.
Wow. I mean, shocking details to say the very least. And I'm sure just the start of what's to come. Chloe Malas, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Diddy, used to the spotlight, now faces the cold solitude of a prison cell.
The case against Sean Combs might as well just be called the freak-offs. These allegedly illegal freak-offs. It's all about the freak-offs in one way, shape, or form.
Freak-offs?
Freak-offs.
Freak-offs. Freak-offs.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Prosecutors say that these were elaborately produced events, bringing lighting in, cameras, linens.
Prosecutors said he would masturbate during these freak-offs, and women had no choice.
Alleged drug-fueled orgies, prostitution, and a cover-up. Freak-offs, as they're called, at the core of a searing 3-count federal indictment against Sean Diddy Combs.
Sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, interstate transportation for prostitution.
Now a look at the charges that threaten to end his career and his freedom. inside the fall from grace from the powerful impresario, a reckoning that some say is long overdue.
He says, oh, I'm hip hop. Yeah, well, you know what? Hip hop deserves better.
During bi-coastal raids on his homes in LA and Miami, authorities say they seized various freak-off supplies, including drugs, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
Federal prosecutors said Sean Combs did not act alone. He had assistants, managers, security staff who would make sure that women and male prostitutes were at these freak-offs, that the hotel rooms where they were staged were stocked with supplies like baby oil and lubricant.
For decades, Diddy reigned as one of the titans of music.
Many now asking how the man who allegedly behaved so abusively was able to do it so often and for so long.
The culture of silence was colossal. You know, it really protected Sean for a number of years.
These people think that they're so powerful that was never going to catch up with them.
Just this week, a new accuser coming forward, alleging in a civil lawsuit Diddy raped her at his recording studio.
The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words.
The latest filed by Talia Graves, who says in her lawsuit that in 2001, she was, quote, bound and restrained while Diddy mercilessly raped her. She alleges he, quote, video recorded the encounter.
The unused to the limelight, he now has to deal with the icy solitude of a jail cell. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay informed. Stay tuned for more updates, and let's keep our news accurate.